I've got some really good news for you this morning. The Canon EOS R5 Mark II will be announced in February 2024, just 4 months from now and just before CP+. Want to know more? Then stick around after this short break for all the details. But first, subscribe to this channel for a chance to win a Canon EOS R5. I'll be giving one away to one lucky subscriber once this channel reaches 100,000 subscribers. Anyone above the age of 18 with a valid mailing address is eligible. Additional terms and conditions are linked in the description down below. According to the Camera Insider, specific dealers have been told that February will bring a major camera announcement, which is the same month as the CP+ show in Japan. Dealer NDAs have not been signed for the announcement, as it's still a bit too early. But Canon is gearing up for a major high-end push in 2024, and they're getting dealers prepared. This is pretty good, right? For, well, a couple of months now, Canon Rumors has been saying that early 2024, maybe February, we could get an announcement of the Canon EOS R5 Mark II, and that's really good news. So we're starting to get validation from the Camera Insider, but a bit of a reality check. Who is the Camera Insider? Well, from what I can tell, they've been around for somewhere between 6 months to a year. And they're a news site, but they've gotten some pretty bold, well, predictions. And some of those predictions have been about the Canon EOS R5 Mark II, but unfortunately, there's no track record to, well, give them credit for getting it right or wrong or one way or another. And we'll get to the specifications shortly. But when it comes to some lenses, they've been pretty well timely, predicting lenses, announcing lenses within as close as 50 minutes prior to announcement to a day ahead. So they do seem to have some sort of industry insider knowledge. And with Canon Rumors also saying the same dates, I'm willing to give this to the Camera Insider. But what about the specifications for the Canon EOS R5 Mark II? Now, the sensor resolution has been a little bit all over the place, and not wide swaths like 45 megapixels, 80 megapixels, 60 megapixels, but 60, 61, 62, depending on which site you follow. Well, according to the Camera Insider, the Canon EOS R5 Mark II will have a 62 megapixel stacked full frame sensor and be able to shoot at a variable resolution of 62 megapixels, 31, and 15.5 megapixels. And for all the photographers out there, sadly, we don't have any information about the ISO range, the dynamic range, although it's pretty safe to say that this being a stacked sensor, those components are going to be, well, they're going to be improved over the Mark I. And with the video specs, well, this seems to happen all the time. Just like with the Mark I, remember we got a whole bunch of specifications and they were all pointing towards video specs. As soon as I get more still specifications, I'll let you know. And we're going to cover off the EVF and the LCD shortly. But the video specs of this camera, it's going to be able to do 8K video up to 60 frames per second. So the same as the Nikon Z8. So it's on the same level as their peers. 8K video, 24, 25, 30, 50, and 60 frames per second, and I would suspect that's going to be uncropped. And in 4K video, all the way up to 120 frames per second. Although I have seen in the past them talking about, well, not them, the Camera Insider, but others talking about 180 or 240. But I would consider that just speculation at this point. So 4K up to 120 frames per second, but it's going to have a new Digic image processor, the Digic XH, is it the X? The Digic X2S image processor. We don't know anything about this in terms of its capabilities, but what I suspect, if this camera, the R5 Mark II, is capped out at 4K 120 frames per second, I would suspect that 120 frames per second to be just a little bit more detailed. And what I also expect that we get that HQ mode, that 8K full sensor readout, oversampled, 8K oversampled 4K video, to not stop at 30 frames per second, but to continue to at least 50 and 60 frames per second. But to really have a big success here, if they could do 4K 120 frames per second and allow us to do it in an HQ mode, so 8K oversampled, 4K 120, that would be a big deal. Now, I'd like to see them give us the option of an HQ mode and a non-HQ mode for those people that want to be able to shoot for a long time, because I bet you dollars to donuts, if this unit doesn't have a fan, and I'm willing to bet that it doesn't, you're not going to be able to shoot 4K 120 for an hour, half an hour, anything like that. It's probably going to overheat when you get up to around 20 minutes, 16 minutes or something like that. But for most of us, when you're dealing with 120 frames per second, I think that would be okay. The Camera Insider is also saying that the R5 Mark II will also have dual CF Express Type B card slots and the eye-controlled autofocus from the R3. dual CF Express Type B. Wow, I'm excited about that. I've been shooting with the Canon EOS R5 for over 3 years now. And when I first got the camera, and before I even got the camera, I thought, who needs CF Express? What? You know, SD card slots are more than capable of doing 4K 60 frames per second. Then I got the camera and I bought a CF Express Type B card just to try it out. And I was shocked. I was stunned. Now, not only can it do 120 frames per second in 4K or 8K RAW at 30 frames per second, the big thing about shooting with CF Express Type B is the blazing speed that you can get content off your card. And if you're shooting a lot of high-speed continuous stills, you can often fill up the card quicker than you can with video. And if you're shooting video or stills, the nice thing is you can actually edit right off of the card itself. Now, what I do is when I shoot these videos, I have a Ninja 5 with an Angelbird AtomX SSD attached to it, so it records automatically in Apple ProRes, so there's no need for transcoding. However, when I'm doing my family, my run and gun stuff or other client stuff, the R5 doesn't do Apple ProRes. We don't know about the R5 Mark II, but the Mark I doesn't do Apple ProRes, so I have to transcode that. But instead of copying it off the CF Express to the computer and then transcoding, I transcode right on the card, and then I import what I need. And it's really, really beneficial to performance. If you're going to do video editing, you want to edit in a video editing codec, just like when you export, you want to export in a codec that's designed for various content sources. And CF Express Type B is more than fast enough to handle that at speeds up to, I think the maximum sustained write speed right now is 1.48 gigabytes per second on an Angelbird Gen 3 card, although Gen 4 cards are starting to come out, and they're promising sustained write speeds of over, if you can believe this, 3 gigabytes per second. Truly impressive indeed. All right, and now for the LCD and the EVF. Now, according to the leaked specifications from the Camera Insider, it's going to have the same resolution for the EVF, which is 5.76 million dots. I don't have a problem with that. I think that's more than sufficient. But what I would like to see is an improvement in the refresh rate, because sometimes when I'm panning or moving, it's almost like you get a bit of a blur or shaking, not shakiness. Put it this way, what I would like to see with the EVF is just like when you're looking through the OVF, the original optical viewfinder, is when you pan and move the camera, you can tell you're looking out at the environment. And if the EVF can replicate that, plus the ability to adjust the shutter, f-stop, exposure, and all that, and to be able to see the differences, I think that would be a huge improvement. I don't care about going to 10 million pixels or 20 million pixels. Just replicate that optical viewfinder without any sort of artifacts or anything like that. And the LCD? Well, the LCD is going to get an improvement in resolution. We don't know how much. The Camera Insider doesn't say so. And lastly, it does get that R3 multifunction hot shoe, but it also gets a new battery. It's going to have the same form as the LP E6NH, but I assume it's going to have a higher amperage, it's going to be able to last longer, or be able to deliver more power for a longer period of time. Because with the current camera, once you drop below 50%, some functions, you see this more on the R5C, some functions will draw more power and might have issues. And of course, and this is a bit of a shocker to many of us who own the R5, if you have the 5D Mark IV, this won't be an issue for you, but the button and layout is going to be different. Now, I don't know if it's going to be radical, but it's definitely going to be different, so that'll be something to get used to. So, February 2024 announcement, probably within a week before the announcement of CP+, because all the major announcements around CP+ happened in the week before. They don't happen at the show. So really exciting there. And in terms of price point, I'm predicting a price of $38.99 to $41.99. Now, if you look at the R6 Mark II, a camera that is significantly improved over the R6, it has the exact same retail price in US dollars. Now, I'm predicting the price not to go up in US dollars, but Canadian, Australian, UK, euros, whatever currency you have. If your currency has lost against the US dollar, you can expect the price to go up. However, because it is going to have a stacked sensor, that could be a reason for Canon to raise the price. But I can't see them going much higher than $41.99. Why? Well, the Nikon Z8. It is $39.99. And what I think could happen here is if Canon makes this a radically new and improved camera, a stacked sensor, 62 megapixels, dual CF Express Type B card slots, a huge improvement in video resolution and refresh rates, an improvement in stills capabilities, better ISO, better dynamic range, then yeah, they could easily charge the same price as the Nikon Z8 at $39.99, but they could say, you know what, we're Canon. We're Canon. This is a great camera. You know it's a great camera. We're going to charge you a few extra dollars. So that's all about the Canon EOS R5 Mark II coming in February with a wrap-up of the specifications. So what about cameras and lenses coming from Canon? Well, the Camera Insider had this to say about what to expect in the remaining, try this again, what to expect from Canon in the last part of 2023. This is also the time of year when dealers have finalized their holiday buys, especially ahead of Black Friday in November and of course the Christmas season in December. So there are no camera announcements coming in 2023. All right, so no camera announcements coming in 2023, no surprise reveal of a successor to the Canon EOS RP, maybe the R9 that would sit somewhere between where the Canon EOS R8 is and somewhere between that and $899. But now, according to Canon rumors, we are supposed to get a boatload, and that's not what they said, a boatload of lenses. They said anywhere between 8 to 10 lenses sometime between now and the first quarter of 2024. Some of those lenses were supposed to happen towards the end of October, so, oh, watch isn't here. We're at the beginning of October, so we've got a few weeks to expect some lenses from Canon. And of course, if the R5 Mark II is coming in a week before CP Plus in Japan, then we can expect a bunch of lenses there as well, such as the 35mm f1.2. What do you think? Do you think we're going to get an announcement of the Canon EOS R5 Mark II in the week before CP Plus? What do you think of the Camera Insider? They seem to be competing with Canon Rumors, the new camera, and everybody else. They don't just cover Canon news. They seem to be covering Sony, Nikon, everybody else. But the real big news lately, it seems to be, they seem to have an inside source when it comes to Canon, at least with the R5 Mark II. So that's what I'm tuned in about. That's what I'm really excited about. But they also seem to have the inside loop in terms of lenses as well. But I want the R5 Mark II. I'm going to pre-order that camera. I'm going to order that camera. In fact, I've already got it pre-ordered. I've already reached out to a local camera store and said, hey, make sure my name's first on that list. Here's my CPS membership number. I want it. I need it. I need a second camera. I'm dying for a second camera. And despite all the sales on for the Canon EOS R5 Mark I, we're just a few months away from the R5 Mark II, so I'm saving up my dollars for that. And if you want to stay up to date on all the latest camera gear news and rumors regarding the Canon EOS R5 Mark II, what new RF lenses might be coming down the pipe, well then go ahead and subscribe, but make sure you also choose all notifications. And if you want to stay up to date on all those minor news and rumors, all those stories that aren't quite big enough to have, well, their own separate video like this, such as pricing information, then go ahead and follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter. And if you like helping support this channel and don't want to have to put out any extra money to help me, and I don't blame you, you don't have to do memberships or anything, but when you're looking at purchasing camera gear, if you're going to purchase from, well, Amazon, B&H or Adorama, please consider using my affiliate links down below. I get anywhere from 2 to 12% back depending on what you buy, and that goes to funding this channel and helping me purchase new cameras like the R5 Mark II and the Canon EOS R1. But that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. Have yourself a great week, and we'll see you again soon.